is really quite simple. Bond is a bullet without a target. Let's give him one.
Numbers can be important. Teraflops, resolution, frame rates, but few numbers are as big, famous and enduring as 007. Back with the reboot and change of face in IO Interactive's new game, 007 First Light. And thanks to an extended gameplay reveal this week at PlayStation State of Play, we have a preview of how the younger Bond lives up to the legacy.
Bond. James Bond.
Now, right from the opening moments, it's clear from the team's internal proprietary Glacier engine is at the heart of the game, building on the back of the long-running Hitman games, which never shied away from its Bond-esque muse. This is more action-orientated for sure, mixing stealth, beautiful scenic locales, fast cars, and late-flight check-ins, all of which increase the demands on the engine and hardware running it. From the off, performance may surprise, coming off the back of their 2021 Hitman 3 game, which ran at 60 FPS on current and last generation consoles. Instead, in this preview code at least, they target a 30 FPS rate throughout all the action and real-time cinematics. Visually, the models, density, animation, melee, materials, lighting, and physics are very impressive, and a step up over their last Hitman titles. The engine was one, if not the first, to introduce cloth and ragdoll physics, locomotion, and animation via inverse kinematics back in 2000. This has remained a key pillar in their games and engine ever since, which is ramped up considerably here with a vast selection of destruction, combat, driving and traversal that clearly stresses the engine and PS5 that all this gameplay is running on, although it also launches on PC, Xbox Series X and S and Switch 2 in March 2026. Physically based but stylized rendering remains from the Hitman series, photorealistic environments mixed with dense crowds, bright skies, pretty people and realistic environments. People and AI remain key, ranging from vast crowds at parties, guard sentries, bodyguards to military fodder who stand around exploding red barrels and far too fragile Range Rover petrol tanks. So far, so Bond. The Glacier engine supports modern features too, including ray tracing, but it often mixes older techniques up, such as screen space reflections on floors or water bodies and older planar reflections which can often be confused with ray trace ones. I believe we see the same techniques here, such as the bar top and floors having obvious SSR occlusion artifacts, as does the car reflections in the car park, and we see large-scale high-quality reflections such as this mirror, likely planar or possibly ray traced as the engine does support them, although I lean towards planar proxies and SSR, as this shot with young James trying to open the car door, the metallic handle or bodywork does not reflect his hand, which would be a sure sign of ray trace reflections if it did. It may be that this work in progress build is balancing what surfaces and materials use ray tracing, if at all, but the visual style, density and destructibility stands out as a clear step up. We do see level of detail switches, shadow cascades drawing in, popping, and other signals this is genuine PlayStation 5 real-time gameplay. The blends are often very good, and the fast car chase sequence stresses those streaming areas very hard, and mixed with extensive physics destruction system does show key areas the team are likely working on during the next 7 months or so, which manifest as performance issues. The Glacier engine extensively uses and demands fast multi-core CPUs, and here the team have doubled down on their physics, engine, animation and destruction system, which from a gameplay, technical and showmanship perspective makes a much bigger impact than simply larger open areas to wander within. The obvious issues in the current build though are easy to spot. Running the video footage shared here through our framerate tools, which I stress is only an indicator of the game's performance and is limited by the video feed itself, as normally we capture all gameplay directly ourselves. But the 4K 60 feed is good enough to gauge the areas of good and bad here. As noted, the base PlayStation 5 version here is capped at 30 FPS and appears to render around 2560 by 1440. Dynamic and reconstruction are also possible, but the video feed and heavy use of chromatic aberration does soften it somewhat. Some aliasing and flicker does crop up, but it's using a temporal AA solution, and mixed with the strong per object motion blur, it is very stable and still looks great, and may possibly have multiple modes come release, as we've seen often this gen, including the Xbox One X and PS4 Pro versions of Hitman 3. but in this gameplay reveal we get the highest quality option, which seems to peak and trough on the performance scale. The entire opening section, slow-paced driving towards the house, wandering around crowded mansions, and even climbing up drain pipes and wisteria vines, the frame times and thus frame rates remain very smooth and evenly paced, bar a few drop frames on occasion or held frames between cuts in those real-time cinematics, very common since the PS4 generation. Once we ramp up the speed and action though, we can see the common cost of data streaming memory management of such dynamic and branching game, allied with physics-based combat, melee and destruction, creates challenges on that 33 millisecond frame time. The destruction is very fitting of Bond and is likely a mix of prefix scripted sections and canned physics sequences that are triggered should you shoot or hit the market to initiate. When this happens, the frame time skips upwards into the 50, 70 and even 100 millisecond range when they do. Now most of these do not look to be GPU based issues, although I am not able to confirm anything here. My educated assumptions are these come from both CPU and memory limits, as the relevant asset, sound, animation and effects are instantiated once set off, and when you create a domino of physics-based destructions, this can then extend beyond the short bouts of dropped frames seen here. The airport hangar sequence gives us a good example of the worst case. A huge explosion is started just as young James jumps over and runs onto the runway. This adds more stress as the car's enemies are more all streamed in whilst the physical destruction continues behind. Once we settle into the next sequence being fully loaded and ready, the performance returns to a smooth 30 FPS. We see back and forth during this fight with various bouts of similar hiccups cropping up. The worst case is once Bond gets aboard and commences his luggage inspection, the combination of multiple AI, state models, full physics-based scenery as the plane rocks left to right, all this creates a pinch point for GPU, CPU loads and memory access and bandwidth, and more. And we appear to be fully bound here with a likely double buffered frame rate giving us prolonged periods into the high teens. This continues throughout the entire battle with only a few areas of increased or reduced load as we stream into the next section or dispatch a portion of baddies. Again, this is perfectly normal at this stage in the development cycle with such a long period of optimization and balancing still to come, but does present a clear big challenge from the engine team to streamline the contention here. Once we move into the real-time cutscenes at the end, we again have a smooth 33 millisecond frame time. Further quick cuts at the end of the gameplay sequence show the same bottlenecks and causes as discussed, but again, will be a focus on the team's triage list, I'm sure. Now, of note in the gameplay was this section that appears to be using frame interpolation, suggesting FSR3 or such to target a 60 FPS performance mode maybe, which helps when CPU limited, which we appear to see here, and it may even be an editing error on the footage. I must also applaud them for wanting to show off their vision and quality here with a sequence that could have been pre-recorded and smoothed out as a vertical slice demo for this session. And the amount going on is both impressive, chaotic and fully dynamic and physics-based, which I hope continues to become a bigger thing moving forward for all games. For a first look, the gameplay IO showed off gave a flavour of the Hitman that still beats within, but also the expansion they have taken with the Bond franchise and thus design. Sure, we can look at the performance levels at their worst and worry, but that would miss the quality, passion and effort on show here. The team has many months and options to iron out these issues. A small reduction in geometry, moving some physics or AI over to the GPU, gaining back memory space to aid all these worst case moments. The options and methods are vast, and I have confidence the team have many answers. Between now and March 2026, the team will have made huge strides here, I'm sure, and we will certainly see more of the game ahead of its launch. We can easily focus on the areas for improvement, but the bigger risk would be for the team to scale back their ambition, reduce the destruction and dynamism for a smoother but more sterile game. And we all know, James Bond is many things, but sterile and boring isn't one of them.
Hold on.
Anyway, that's it for all things shaken, stirred and secret agent based. Remember, if you like what we do here on IGN Performance Reviews, then keep it IGN, and we'll catch you on the next one.